Namaste everyone here at BookTube. Welcome to my channel, Hamsavahini Vajra Astra. I'm Ahuna. Today's video is going to be about the Nightingale August Challenge. Now the Nightingale August Challenge had commenced from the 1st of August 2020 and will continue till the 30th of September 2020. Now this extension has been done with in keeping in mind that the pandemic has affected the opening of all the libraries all across the globe, as well as the posts are getting delayed, etc. Now along with this extension comes a set of 6 challenges, or 6 fresh challenges, which are all grouped under the Nightingale Sea-Cold September. Now the Nightingale August Challenge are a group of 5 challenges which focuses primarily on Florence Nightingale, the Crimean War in which she contributed, as well as on the nursing health services and the challenges and the contributions which are made by the nurses, and a first-hand account of a practical account of a general day in, or an average day in the life of a nurse. So this is what the Nightingale August Challenge encompasses. However, the Nightingale Sea-Cold Challenge focuses primarily on the contemporary of Florence Nightingale, who was Mary Seacole. She specialized in frontline nursing, and along with her there was another nurse, a frontline nurse to be very specific, who was Clara Barton, and she was the founder of the American Red Cross, and she contributed massively on the front lines during the American Civil War, all through the correspondence, through letters, with Florence Nightingale during her later years. So she was popular. Clara Barton was popularly known as the Florence of America, or Florence of the American Civil War. So today I'm going to be talking about the August Nightingale, or the Nightingale August Challenge. Now, just to let you know, those who are interested in knowing more about Florence Nightingale, who was one of the most famous Victorian British women during the Victorian age, you can definitely try any of the challenges which are given in either the Nightingale August Challenge. If any challenge sparks your interests in from challenge number 1 to challenge number 5, do please use the tag #NightingaleAugustChallenge followed by the year. And in case if you're more interested in Mary Seacole, who was a British nurse, or in Clara Barton, who founded the American Red Cross, or if you're interested in reading any of the fiction surrounding the Crimean War, or the frontline nursing in general, do please check the challenges between challenge number 6 to challenge number 11, and please use the tag #NightingaleSeacoleSeptember. So today I'm going to be talking about the Nightingale August Challenge. Now the first challenge of the Nightingale August Challenge was to read any biography of Florence Nightingale. So I have actually read 2 biographies. The first biography that I read for this challenge was Florence Nightingale by Mark Bostridge. Now as you can see, it's a mammoth book, and I used or coupled this particular book for 2 other challenges apart from this challenge. I have spoken in great deal about this particular book, so I won't repeat it again. However, there's a lot that I can talk about, but it would unnecessarily stretch this particular video. So what I have done is, for the content which I have spoken of in brief on particular sections about this book, I have posted a link in the description box below in the other challenges which I have used. So one of the challenges was the history challenge, and the other challenge was the Tomb Topple Round 12 challenge. So I have tried to link the video links in the description box below, so you definitely can check with those. The other book which I have read was Florence Nightingale, God's Servant at the Battlefield by David R. Collins. Now this particular book was a very easy read, of course, but it's primarily focused on the moral values of Florence Nightingale, and it is written for young readers and teenagers. However, I really loved this book, and although it's written in a very simplistic way, and I learned a great deal from this book, nothing much to talk about. It's given in a very lucid way, and because I read this on during the first week of August, so I had penned down some of my thoughts regarding the content of this book. Of course, this is just an overview which I'm going to share with you, and I have prepared a couple of I wouldn't say notes, but I penned down some of my thoughts because I have a tendency to ramble, so I'll be sharing that with you. Now, this book is for young adults and high school students, and the moral character of Florence Nightingale has been broadly outlined in this book because this book directs the spotlight on the morality and the values which Florence Nightingale developed and grew with despite her demandingly delicate situation. Now, Florence Nightingale was the younger of the two sisters. Her elder sister was Parthenope, and both of them hailed from a very aristocratic family. Being a woman of good family fortune, Florence was expected and hence raised to become a morally strong and gentle lady to secure a good marriage. However, her education made her inquisitive. It actually fueled her inquisitive nature and made her more firmly grounded as well as astute in her determination to pursue a proper Christian life. Now, her family, that's Florence Nightingale's family, inclusive of her grandfathers and fathers, were all well known in the political circles, and her mother, Fanny Nightingale, was an active socialite who loved to stay amongst the cream of the society, yet she loved to do her work for the parish and the church by helping out the poor and visiting the sick as part of keeping a good Christian moral fibre not only in the society but also in her family. Now, there were challenges which Florence used to face when it came to making her mother understand her love and her keen interest in helping the poor and the sick and the needy. So Florence, however, used to feel frustrated and useless while attending the high-class socialite dinners and parties and balls along with her mother and sister as she was expected to, and right from the beginning her heart was always fixed on helping the sick and the poor. Florence's education helped her to cultivate her keen intellectual drive and her organizational, analytical and mathematical abilities, and these were very well polished along with her mastery over the languages of Greek, Latin, French and many more languages. However, her natural instinct to focus her heart and soul on the sick and the poor inflamed her questioning of life values and brought her closer to God with questions. So finally, Florence heard God's voice in a deep spiritual experience on February 7th, 1837, and knew that God wanted her to serve him in a better way and in a deeper way through the path of action. However, the path itself was not revealed to her. She had to find it out on her own. So during the fall of 1842, Florence met a German ambassador who was a family friend and who was acquainted with a Lutheran pastor named Fleidner, who along with several women had opened a hospital and an orphanage to take care of the young children and the sick who were suffering and were ostracized from the society. Now, these women who were helping Fleidner were called nurses. So Florence got interested in knowing what exactly was the role of a nurse, and she visited the German hospital which was opened by Fleidner, and finally Florence found peace in understanding that the path to her service to God was in nursing. So after a while, Florence took the opportunity to visit the Kaiserwerth Hospital in Germany, where she spent a few months training and started helping in the hospital and also studied the operating methods very carefully. Now finally, in the summer of 1852, Florence went to Paris to train with the Sisters of Charity at Maison-les-Dames province. In the spring of 1853, Florence took a placement as the superintendent for the Institution for the Care of Sick Gentlewomen in London. So she started progressing in the field of, or in her pursuit for nursing and in the pursuit of her life life's dedication to the healing of the sick and the poor, and in answering God's call. And from here, that is from this particular hospital, she learned from one of her patients about the requirement of nurses at the Crimean War, which had just broken out, and she immediately wrote to Sidney Herbert, who was her very close family friend, as well as a very important British official at the moment, government official that is, and he immediately enrolled Florence, accepted her request to organize a team of nurses and act as the head superintendent and leave for Crimea. On reaching Crimea, Florence was shown the Scutari Barrack Hospital, which was in an unhygienic and repulsive condition at the first sight, and the waves of challenges which were faced by Florence and her team, when starting from their living accommodation to clean water, as well as limited supply of hospital medical requirements, and they had to face a lot of disease because at that point of time, at the Scutari Hospital, the wounded soldiers were infected with cholera and diarrhea, and there were unlimited deaths which were taking place. Raw meat was served, the meat was not getting cooked properly, and there was a cold drought which was going on continuously. Window panes were broken, everything was unhygienic, and there was absolute chaos. And to make matters worse, the medical officers were not very happy with the fact that Florence Nightingale, along with a team of her nurses, who were mainly nuns, but they should be at a battlefield, because they never believed in the contribution of women, and position of women in the Victorian age was only limited to the house fair. So women in the battlefield was something which was unheard of, and only servants were allowed so that they could help to clean up or to provide solace, etc., to the medical, to the patients, and under the direction of the medical officers, of course, and to keep things clean. But they never expected that there would be something called trained nurses, which was led by a woman from an aristocratic family, especially an educated one who knew what to do. So Florence immediately got to work as soon as she was given the nod or the permission to work by the chief medical officer over there, and she trained her nursing staff with a fine moral responsibility, keeping the highest values of Christian morality in mind. Now, during the challenges which she conquered one after the other, she remembered to read the Bible regularly. So she used to read the book of Matthew regularly, and it was her constant companion, even during a very stormy situation. Whatever could come into picture, she always remembered the verses from the book of Matthew, and she instructed her or impressed upon her nursing staff to read the first book of Samuel, so that they could educate them, not only educate, because this was not about education exactly, so I'm sorry about that. Let me rephrase it. It was more about service, and there was no better way of serving the wounded than by doing this in the light of the word of wisdom given by God. And the first book of Samuel was something which was encouraged to be read every night amongst the nurses. So Florence Nightingale saw lots of deaths between the winter of 1855 and 1856, and she personalized every condolence letter which she wrote to the respective families of the deceased soldiers. Now, there was a cook who was called Alexis Sawyer, who was generally looked down upon initially by the British medical officers and the doctors who were present at the battlefield, because Alexis Sawyer had been, I believe he had volunteered for rendering his services to the wounded soldiers and at the hospitals. However, he was morally, I wouldn't say morally, but he was demoralized brutally by most of the British medical officers, and therefore Florence took up the situation in her hands, and she reminded her staff to treat Alexis Sawyer with great dignity and respect. So this boosted up the morale and the confidence of Alexis Sawyer. And every night when Florence used to go to the kitchen to have her dinner, Alexis, she always used to have a very good and an uplifting conversation with Alexis Sawyer, and this helped him to get out of the depression, helped him to see the light, and helped him to serve his purpose in a more productive and vigorous way to ensure that the wounded soldiers who could heal were healed with proper nutrition. So this resulted in Alexis to work tirelessly. Of course, he made many inventions, and he also improvised the nutrition charts, and with limited supplies of rations which were available, he could make excellent and very nutritious diet for the wounded soldiers. And there were in some cases in which he had personalized these charts. Now, the important thing about it is that these charts which he had prepared were later used by Florence and shared by Florence with the war officers for the improvement of the health conditions and the hygiene conditions, not only in the British soldiers who were serving in colonial India, but also in taking care of the wounded soldiers and in helping them to heal. In her correspondence letter with Clara Barton during the American Civil War. So this was very important, and most of the inventions of the stove, as well as cooking equipment, and the cooking techniques, which was done by Alexis Sawyer, was later used productively and to improvise upon the health conditions and the hospital conditions, and especially the hospital pantries, not only in England but other countries as well. So this was a great contribution, and this all happened because Florence showed the light to Alexis that he was here to serve his purpose, and he should approach this as a work which is doing for God's. Now, after the battle, on her return, Florence refused the hype and the glamour which was being associated with her, because for her, most of her contribution and the work which she had done in the battlefield was for her call, for answering her call for God's service, and it was her duty as a Christian. So she was, I would say, her image was that of the ultimate or the optimum level or the optimum stage that a good Christian character of a woman could reach, which she did not want to get herself highlighted into, because she had other plans. So she spoke with Queen Victoria. She used this hype and glamour to reach Queen Victoria, and she shared her plans for hospital improvement, and Queen Victoria was impressed with her, and all she wanted was that she wanted her government to include her in the war officers, but since that was not possible, so Florence was requested to improvise the situation of the way that the British soldiers were viewed in the British Army. So this is something which Florence did wholeheartedly, and she corresponded with the war officers for improvement of hospitals, improvement of war situations, especially with regards to a soldier's health. And this was the first time that she could elevate the view or the status of a British soldier from a mere soldier who was holding a gun and fighting for his country and getting paid for it, to the level of where a British soldier was regarded as an emblem or a symbol of national pride. So this was all her contribution, and there is a lot of other things which are mentioned in this book. However, I won't go into much of details because this has already been a very long video and I have been rambling in between. However, what I would suggest is anybody who's interested in knowing more into the moral character of Florence Nightingale, especially during her work which she did, please check with this book. There are other things which are mentioned, especially during her later years when she was bedridden because of the Crimean fever which she had contracted and which had grown into her bones later on. So I would suggest please have a look, or just take your time and read this book. And it's lucidly written, but the education or the lessons which you receive from this, not the education, I'll rephrase that, the lessons which are here are very simple and it's quite enlightening as well. So these are my views for this particular book. and this would complete the first challenge, which is to read a biography of Florence Nightingale. There are other books which I have read as well, especially this particular book, No Place for Ladies by Helen Rappaport. Now this is an excellent book, and I'm just halfway through it. I've not read it completely because it's very intriguing, as well as there is a lot of mention not only of Florence Nightingale, there's a mention of Mary Seacole and other women who had contributed. It's basically about the women who had contributed in the battlefield of the Crimean War, and I would try and use this for the Nightingale Sequel September Challenge as well. So I'm not making a video on this right now, but I'll probably be making this around the last few weeks, wherein I can emphasize on not only on Florence Nightingale but Mary Seacole as well. This is for challenge number 3, which is to read about the Crimean War, or the contribution of Florence Nightingale during the Crimean War. So this book encompasses not only the conditions of the Crimean War, but the contributions of most of the women, especially the wives of foot soldiers, wives of army officers, Florence Nightingale, Mary Seacole, and their other nurses, along with, I believe, the nursing services from the other side of the battlefield, which is the Russian battlefield as well. So this is all given in this book. So I will complete this book and give a review on it, and also mention the most important and intriguing details, not the details, but very interesting parts, because this book is splattered with humorous notes all along. So that I will do that approximately by the end of this month. So with this, I'll be wrapping up this video. It's been a long video. I'll join you with another video from the Nightingale August Challenge very soon. So till then, take care and have a good reading week ahead, and namaste.